You don't get that in the fan club anymore.
No, I was there early doors, a mere 23 years after they released their debut album. Got in there early. Hello and welcome to Maiden Voyages, a podcast series where we chronicle the peerless discography of the world's greatest heavy metal band, which is, of course, Iron Maiden. Or at least that's what we usually do, but in a slight detour from the usual running order of things, we're going to do a Maiden News wrap-up podcast.
New year, new news.
New year, new news. Wow.
New season.
New season.
Seems very appropriate.
Indeed. But first, let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Blev, an historian of sorts, and I'm an Iron Maiden. I'm going to throw in a new term I learnt this week.
Ooh.
I'm an Iron Maiden, pick me. So, when we were in school, if you were like keen to impress the teacher, you were called a keno.
Yeah.
But I've learned this week the young people, they don't use the word keno anymore. They don't know what a keno is.
Yeah.
They say a pick me, as in Sir, Miss, pick me.
Pick me.
So I'm the Iron Maiden. Pick me, Bruce. Pick me, Steve.
Okay. I'm Sam, a writer of sorts, and I'm an Iron Maiden detention attendee.
Yeah, because you haven't done your Iron Maiden homework. Sam.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to stay behind at lunch to catch up on all the Iron Maiden you have missed.
I mean, that's particularly true as we get into 21st century Maiden.
Yeah, you've got a lot of revision to do, mate.
Well,
Exams are coming.
I was here for some of these albums, and then I lost interest.
But what about when you get to Unit 2, Book of Souls?
I will get an F.
Yeah.
Or a U.
A U.
Or I don't know if those grades even exist
F's
anymore.
don't exist. Well, in Wales they
Isn't
do.
it
But,
numbers now?
well, in England it is. In Wales we still have letters, but the F doesn't exist. It's a U or an E.
I guess I get a U.
Yeah. Hate to say it.
On the Book of Soul.
So, 2025, there has been a lot of news, which I appreciate to the good folk listening at home, is not going to be that new anymore.
No, in
But
fact,
we
we've really
are-
missed the boat on a lot of this stuff.
We are obliged to talk about it nonetheless.
I feel it's fair that, quite a few big things in the Maiden camp have happened, and
Yeah.
it would be remiss of us not to at least
Indeed.
acknowledge them.
Shall we start with the sad news to
Yeah,
begin with?
yeah.
Which is, like, obviously the end of the last year, the passing of Paul Di'Anno,
Yeah.
which, whilst it's fair to say, was not the, sadly not the most surprising rock and roll fatality that has emerged in recent years, still hit me a lot harder than most, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think he was a man in quite ill health, but at the same time, it seemed like he was sort of revitalized and on the mend overall. So I think there was some surprise to it. But at the same time, like you say, maybe not the biggest surprise.
Yeah, there was a lot of context of the ill health, wasn't there, going back years? At
going
this
back
point.
decades,
And,
I think.
I'm not sure, he'd been wheelchair bound for a number of years.
It must have been hard. Like
yeah.
he definitely had quite a tough decade by the sound of it.
But like you said, he seemed to be really upping his touring.
Yeah.
The last 2 years of his life, he seemed to play a huge amount of shows, across
And doing
the world.
quite well publicized and well attended shows by the looks of it. I can't think of any other time in my whole fandom of Iron Maiden where Paul Di'Anno gigs were being talked about.
Yeah, or were, where he seemed to be playing in the UK a lot. I don't remember him coming to the UK much at all, really.
No, exactly.
We've had this chat off mic, but I am incredibly regretful now that I didn't go see him, because he played a show near us in
in Crumlin.
the Patriot in Crumlin, which is an excellent rock venue and bar in the Gwent Valleys, and it was a weeknight or something, and I think I hummed and hawed about it, and by the time I thought about it, it sold out very quickly, which is great for Paul. It was probably one of their quicker selling shows, I imagine, and one of the biggest names they've brought to that venue as well, I guess.
Excuse me, we saw Ted Poley from Danger Danger.
Oh, I'm sorry to Ted Poley. Yeah, I mean, I saw it in Wobham Legends Demon there quite recently.
Yeah.
That was great. I don't think that was sold out.
No,
but yeah, and you sort of think, regardless of Paul's condition towards the end of his life, I do wish I could have gone to have just seen Paul Di'Anno.
Yeah.
Because those first two Maiden albums, the first one in particular, is a really important record for me. Like, I love that album so much. And Killers, I think, is great, to be honest. But the first one, wow.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, in the context of this podcast, we've discussed those albums a lot, and we've discussed my thoughts on Paul. And obviously, I have slightly mixed feelings about him at times. But I think it probably can't be overstated how important he was to the band's early days. He literally gave them a voice that made them stand out. And yes, he might not be the Bruce Dickinson of the band and partially responsible for them becoming this huge global thing. But I think without Paul's sort of rough edge lyrics, rough edge voice, and also his ability to do quite a gentle voice as well and stuff like Remember Tomorrow, without that sort of dynamism in his vocals and his sort of slightly more punk attitude, Iron Maiden could have kind of got lost in the weeds just through either sounding like any other rock band at the time or being almost proggy sounding.
Yeah.
Like having this frontman who could do both things kind of gave them an extra edge over some of the competition, I think.
And I'm glad you mentioned that Paul had a real melodic sensibility to his voice as well, because it feels a lot of the conversation around Paul Di'Anno is, oh yeah, he was like this really punky, rough, raspy singer, and then they got someone who's much more smooth and polished with Bruce. And to an extent that is true, but I feel like it tends to overlook the fact that Paul could properly sing.
Yeah,
he can really hit notes. He's actually got quite, particularly in those early records, his range is great, and he can handle material like Prodigal Son off Killers.
Yeah.
And sing it really well, and yet you can also handle the really spiky stuff like Killers and Prowler. And to be honest, Bruce does that stuff great, but it is that sort of spikier stuff. You think there's that real kind of menace in Paul's voice that gives those first couple of Iron Maiden albums like a real edge, I think. Because Paul, I think he is, everyone who seems to have met him seems to say he was a lovely bloke. But I imagine if you got on the wrong side of him,
I think he had quite a feisty reputation.
Yeah.
I remember reading an interview with him about his autobiography where he's kind of like, it details a lot of the dangerous fights I got into, both in and out of Maiden. And he seemed quite self-aware of his sort of tearaway lifestyle. But yeah, I mean, for all the blustering that he may give, I don't think Bruce Dickinson is really getting into fights with people all that often.
No.
Whereas Paul, he was a rough and tumble guy.
Oh, I think he would talk with his fists if it came to it. Yeah. And in that respect, he has more in common with, say, like a Bon Scott than an Ian Gillan or a Rob Halford. Whereas Bruce, I think, is much more in that lineage of like 70s British hard rock singers. Plant, Gillan, Halford, kind of big, quite high vocal ranges. Paul is, it's quite unique because he doesn't really fit the mold of 70s rock singers, really.
No.
Other than maybe a Bon Scott. But even Bon Scott's more of a cheeky chappy. Like, you don't really think he doesn't have that same kind of, just sort of aggression that Paul does. Yeah.
It's a shame that post-Maiden, I mean, I know some of Paul's stuff got coverage like Di'Anno and Battle Zone, but...
Gog Magog.
And Gog Magog. I mean, didn't Gog Magog literally do like a song?
They did an EP, yeah. We need to talk about Gog Magog.
Yeah.
That's
we should talk about some of this stuff in a bit more depth because it's quite interesting to see how their paths split. And unfortunately, it just didn't really seem like Paul was ever kind of able to capitalize that much on his Maiden glory.
Well, you're going back to not wishing to rehash what we said around the time of the Killers and of the Beast episodes, but I don't think Paul ever wanted to be a massive rock star.
No, that's true.
Like I honestly think he wanted to have a good time with his mates. And I think that probably was reflected in the bands he put together afterwards. He could have found the best guitars to work with, but instead he basically seemed to just want to kick around with his mates, play a few small shows, not much pressure, not much financial reward in it, but he's having a nice time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the kind of pressures that the guys in Maiden are under. being in the middle of a sort of multi-million-pound business empire, right? So
yeah, that is totally fair.
I get the feeling he lived the life he wanted, albeit minus the health issues he endured towards the end of his life.
Well, let's hope so.
So let's just as a little final nod to Paul, favourite Paul Di'Anno moments, tracks in the main discography.
I think for me, it probably is Remember Tomorrow, but specifically the live version of Remember Tomorrow, where he does like the cool screaming during the chorus, because he doesn't do that on the recorded version. It's just verse lyrics. But in live versions, he always does that kind of scream.
I think it's one of Live at the Rainbow, isn't it, on that video?
Yeah, the Live at the Rainbow clip is really great. I think that's a really good example of the duality of his voice, right? You've got those sort of haunting, quite smooth verses, and then you just have a man screaming in the chorus, but melodically, it's cool.
Yeah, what a voice.
And it's such a cool song.
And if anything, it's a shame that the people he collaborated with afterwards just didn't give him the musical material that really allowed his voice to shine that way again. Because, what a voice. For me, I'm going to go for... it's got to be Phantom of the Opera.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's my favourite Maiden song. But again, also, I think it really showcases Paul dynamics in the same way. Because you've got that midsection, the quite gentle, don't you stray.
Yeah.
And then the sort of the furious, you walk me, talk me. And it's kind of, it's got it all, right? It's a tour de force of a vocal. And I still, I just remember listening to the debut Maiden album for the first time, having heard the Bruce stuff, and just feeling like you discovered something relatable yet new and being so exciting. Like, oh my God, this is kind of a different thing, but is so brilliant at the same time.
I think a second choice for me, for sort of similar reasons, actually, would be Wrathchild.
Yeah.
Also, I think that's sort of like, in terms of the aggier side of his voice, that's a very archetypal Paul song. And as much as I like hearing Bruce sing it, I think it's better with Paul. It's his voice that makes that song.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Sanctuary as well. Bruce does a decent Sanctuary, but it's not Paul's. Give me sanctuary from the law. That kind of way he just delivers words. It's just brilliant. So what a sad loss, and I'm not sure if we talked about this on air, but there's always that slight speculation, isn't there, that, was Paul ever going to get up on stage with Maiden one more time? Maybe
particularly with the Run for Your Lives show happening in East London near their old stomping ground. And, both Paul Di'Anno and Dennis Stratton had posted at the show announcement when it happened. And so, there were sort of rumours floating that maybe that
and what felt like maybe a slightly choreographed move. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
but
now we'll never know.
Alas, sadly not. So rest in peace, Paul Di'Anno.
Yeah, rest in peace.
And thanks for those two records. Oh, also, as a little aside, I noticed that Kerry King of Slayer fame is touring, and there's 2 Killers era Maiden songs.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and he's doing Purgatory. I was like, yes, I love Purgatory. That's great. I would buy a ticket. Don't get me wrong, love Slayer, not all that interested.
I do not want to see Kerry King.
If he keeps Purgatory in the set, I will go see Kerry King, just to see that, because that is great. Everything else on that debut album, nah.
Yeah.
But, hey, the man's got to make a living, right?
Does he? I imagine he's probably got enough money, especially after doing those Slayer gigs last year.
Yeah.
Which, you only just retired. Come on.
Hey, what can I say? The man loves banging that bald head. And doing his chunky
and making
riffs.
passive-aggressive remarks about Tom Araya.
Yeah, he just can't get enough of it. And as if, that in itself would be a huge news story in the world of Maiden.
It's really going to be an episode of Bummers, isn't it?
Well, yeah, to an extent. And then we get the news that Nico is stepping back from live touring, but not leaving Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
As was initially seemed to be the case. But they've sort of backpedal on that. It's like, no, Nico's still in the band, which I guess leaves him open to potentially play on any future studio albums. And I guess to be a member of the company, if we talk about Maiden at that level. But he won't be doing any live duties, which is, again, is huge because this is the first, let's call it a lineup change, right? It is a lineup change.
Yeah,
this is the first lineup change I've had to endure as my time as a Maiden fan.
Yeah.
It's been a remarkably solid and consistent lineup, but we already spoke about the health issues Nico himself had, having had the stroke and then going out and doing the Future Past tour.
It is a huge testament to his ability and willpower that post-stroke he was able to go out and tour for best part of 2 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Playing Hour 45, Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
He's
dude in his 70s, right? Like
doesn't get a break in that set either.
Yeah.
He's on stage the full time.
There are people half his age who wouldn't be able to do that. So that alone is super commendable. And then, of course, you have all of his rich history of just being an excellent drummer. So, yeah, it really is the end of an era. But it's also, he's going out with his credibility intact, I think he can be proud of what he's done. And I think also probably making the right decision for himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touring life is strenuous, right?
Yeah, and I think to have to do that, and like fair play to him, the fact he got through that and was able to do those shows. But yeah, there's also, I think, a certain amount of respect that is earned when you're able to say, "Nah, that's me done now."
Yeah.
I've done my time, and also felt the way Maiden dealt with it was so classy in an understated way. Just the way. There was no big kind of hype for it or come see Nico's last show. It's the last show. It was just literally the day of the show, wasn't it? Social media announcement, just so you know, this is the last night of the tour. This will be Nico's last show of the band. And a little tribute to Nick on stage. And I thought that is just really classy. Like, that's a nice way to go out.
Yeah.
It's not this sort of, hey, can you imagine if that was Motley Crue and it was Tommy Lee's last show? It'd be like, 10 weeks in Las Vegas. Like, come see Tommy Lee's last 10 weeks of Motley Crue. We're just going to squeeze
He's going to sign a contract saying he can't play afterwards, and then they're going to blow it up.
Yeah, and then we're going to blow it up.
And Tommy Lee will come back in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, it just felt like such a kind of, fair play to Nico McBrain.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. And just phenomenal drummer as well.
Yeah.
Really great drummer. Very fluid, jazzy almost style.
Yeah.
Like a bit like Ian Pace of Deep Purple, but that, has, stood Maiden in like amazing stead over the years. Yeah, I'm going to miss him. And also just a character.
Yeah, absolutely. And you already touched on it. He's still part of the Maiden camp, so I guess we're still going to get like exposure to Nico the character. But I wonder how much of that is he's going to be involved in business affairs versus he's going to be involved in creative affairs, right?
Yeah. Well, there's no confirmation we're getting another Maiden studio album, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. It'd be nice if we do get one, but
if I'm honest, this is the beginning of the end, right?
Oh yeah, I think so.
I think announcing the Run for Your Lives tour, which we'll come on to shortly, it kind of had not an air of finality about it, but it's definitely a flag in the ground.
Yeah.
And you add this news on top, and it's definitely a slight sense of, this might be starting to wind down a bit. Because they've previously said if one of them isn't able to do it, that's probably when they'd call it a day.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're in that scenario.
Watch this space, I guess, once the Run for Your Lives tour comes to an end. But what about Nico McBrain's replacement, Sam?
Well, there was so many rumours.
Well, there were a lot of rumours, yeah. The dad from the guy from Twin Atlantic wasn't happy, was he?
No, he was unhappy.
Well, B seemed to think his boy, Twin Atlantic drummer, whose name I've forgotten, was going to be getting that gig. But
something Lazarus, right?
Something, yeah.
And he's the nephew of Steve Harris, right?
Yes.
And rumour has it, according to this guy's dad, that Steve had him learn the set just in case. But who knows? This is just gossip on Facebook, really.
He's not got the gig.
he didn't. And the answer is maybe the most boring answer possible.
Hey!
No, not because of the guy, but just in terms of, oh yeah, that's not a surprising choice. That makes sense.
It's Simon Dawson, everyone. That's Simon Dawson. Yes, that's Simon Dawson. From British Lion. You know, that's Simon Dawson.
I mean, on paper, it makes sense, right? British Lion were basically out on tour with Maiden anyway.
In hindsight, it's so obvious.
This person's played with Steve for years, so they're locked in as a rhythm section. And the guy probably knows quite a lot of Maiden songs.
Do you want to know a little bit about Simon?
He's probably good at drums, I assume.
I think he's a very good drummer.
Yeah.
And I will really miss. I was about to say seeing Nico behind the kit. You can never see Nico behind the kit.
Can't see anything behind the kit. The kit is so huge.
But I will miss see Nico pop his head up and be like, hello, all right? But I'm quite excited to see what Simon Dawson brings to it. Of course, he's going to be very faithful, I imagine. He's not going to do anything.
Is he going to get a double kick pedal? That's the real question.
See, Simon Dawson's history, right, as a drummer, he's played in pretty much he's done pop rock stuff. He's done, almost had some mainstream success in kind of pop territories, but he's primarily a rock metal drummer. His first recorded output that I can find is he was in a Wobben band called Deep Switch.
Deep Switch?
Deep Switch, who released one album in 1986 called 9 Inches of God.
Oh my God. That's a weird album title.
The cover's even weirder. It has songs such as Pig Feeder, ! Time Machine, interesting.
Okay.
A song called 9 Inches of God, ! And The Poison Lake.
9 Inches of God, huh?
I mean, the cover has a really bad illustration of like a slightly nudie nun on it.
Yeah, that tracks.
Hey, it's 1986. It's a metal album. This is, what more do you want? But
more than they're delivering.
But a couple of other interesting Simon Dawson sort of facts is in the mid-90s, he is in a UK groove thrash metal band called Dearly Beheaded.
Okay, now that is a good name. That is a very good name.
I actually listened to Dearly Beheaded. They're quite good. It's very sort of Biohazard. I mean, it's a bit like Baby Pantera, Biohazard type groove thrash metal stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of double kick thrash metal type drumming in that, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, that's exciting. A bit like when Scott Travis joined Judas Priest type thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. But also, there's been a few little Maiden intersections before British Lion even.
Okay.
So Simon Dawson is an early lineup of Dirty Deeds. Here they are again, who opened for Maiden in the 90s, featured Richie Faulkner.
Yeah, okay.
That was signed to Steve Harris's record label. They seem to have almost been Steve's kind of pet project in the 90s Dirty Deeds. He played on their demo.
Okay.
And he's also obviously been British Lion. Yep. He also played on Devilment's demo.
Oh.
Remember? Yeah, Devilment.
Yeah, Danny Filth.
The Danny Filth, like, industrial goth metal side project.
That we were meant to see at Martin Walkier's Viking funeral.
Yeah.
Maybe alongside Skyclad, Elven King playing Skyclad songs with Martin Walkier.
But wasn't that like the second change to that lineup? Devilment were added and then taken off again. It wasn't meant to be someone else originally, but...
Yeah.
What a fiasco.
Worst gig of my life.
Yeah.
Still angry about it literally a decade later.
Hey, nice to see you and have a chat.
Just do that all the time anyway.
Just quite an expensive chat coming from...
Yeah, you came down to London.
Yeah, to London. I think from Cardiff on a train, but anyway.
I just want to hear some Skyclad, man.
So Simon Dawson has got quite an eclectic CV.
Yeah.
And yet has never had a breakthrough... like, wow, big league moment. And I think, like, what a nice thing for him at this stage in his life.
Yeah.
Where most people, he's about the same age as the guys in Maiden, right? A tiny bit younger, like late 50s, I think. To all of a sudden, he's probably thinking, right, I've got 5-6 more years, semi-retirement, kind of, a bit of drumming on the side. And all of a sudden, it's like, mate, do you want to play in one of the biggest bands in the world? Like,
It's quite... Yeah,
I would.
I wonder how he
actually
responded to that.
Quite how do you think he responded? Like,
he took the job, but
because he's thinking
it's a big ask.
It's a big ask, but one tour of Maiden and that's your retirement pot, right? That's I presume
that's true.
he's even if he's not an official member of the band, he's not doing that for nothing, right? So
no, but
you're not playing London Stadium for peanuts.
Or are you?
But how many peanuts? That's
how many peanuts? Yeah. I mean, I guess
2 bags, salt and vinegar. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's no way we can ever know what he's being paid, but
unless we ask him.
unless we ask him. But yeah, I'm sort of interested to know what it is relative to other members of the band, because he is essentially a hired gun, right?
Yeah, he is absolutely a hired gun. He's not. Seemingly a member of Iron Maiden per se.
Yeah.
He's playing drums for Iron Maiden live.
And also, what does that mean for if there are any more recordings? Is he going to be on them? Is it going to be Nico?
That's the big unknown. Yeah, that's
I mean,
the big unknown.
If I was to guess, if there is an album coming out ever again, it's already been recorded, and it was recorded with Nico. And that's part of the reason why they've been sort of cagey about him not having left the band.
But also projecting forward, because we're going to touch on the Run for Your Lives tour as well. The only obvious comparison here that I can think of, where a member stepped back from live duties but sort of stayed within the band because of health issues, is
John Lever from Savatage.
Well, yeah, John Lever from Savatage. Well, I don't think Nick McBrain's got behind the wheel of a car drunk.
Let's be clear. I don't think he was drunk. I think he was on coke.
Okay, John Lever, by the way, not Nick McBrain.
That was only the last few years.
Of Savatage. So I was thinking of, obviously, Glenn Tipton.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
Judas Priest, who occasionally is still a part of Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Apparently records with Priest, contributes to the writing process, and occasionally will get up and play live with Priest, which you sort of wonder, is that going to happen? Is Nico going to get up on stage, do a few songs? Kind of like a Glenn Tipton thing, big
that would make sense, particularly.
I mean, you can clearly still play.
London Stadium.
Yeah,
right?
but, you can clearly still play, but, is it
a
case that, just doing an hour 45? Because, I remember at the time, and we did clarify because I felt really bad about it. I did say after seeing the Future Past tour that it was all great, but I remember saying that was the slowest version of Fear of the Dark I've ever seen Maiden do live.
Yeah, which was a valid comment.
Now makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have the context of this man had a life-altering event.
Stroke, and he's an hour and a half into a set.
Yeah.
Has to do that. But yeah, so it'll be a slightly different Maiden we see next year. The other revelation we've had is, now people have said that, or the way this has been paraphrased is Maiden saying, Bruce has said they're going to play songs they've never played live before.
Yeah.
Whereas I think actually what he said was, it was something more like, we're going to do things we've never done before. Right, or you're going to see something you've never seen before. I don't think he explicitly said, we will play songs that have never been played live before. But that was the way it was interpreted.
Right.
Maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe stick it down to fact check if we need another Pedant's Corner.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was the implication, clearly, that they would play songs that have never been played live before.
Yeah.
But there aren't many. There are not many songs that Maiden have never played live.
Also,
unless they're going to do, like, X Factor deep cuts.
Well, they're not, right? Because
No,
specifically, for many reasons, but specifically the Run for Your Lives tour, which is the topic we've now moved on to, is covering material from the debut to Fear of the Dark only. And, I mean, if you have one song per each of those albums, that is the majority of your set list. Done, right?
Well,
so
it's 9 songs, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be 9 songs. What's the typical set list?
What about 15
14
songs?
Yeah. So if you're going to play obscure cuts, it's going to be at the expense of something well known at that point, right?
Well, but there's so many bangers in that. They can get away with not doing, I don't know, wasted. They can drop Wasted Years, right? Because they've played that so often. I'm not picking on Wasted Years.
Bledd?
Well, yeah, but they can get away with it. No one's going to cry.
I mean, this is the band that
Hills, Trooper, Number the Beast
multiple times refused to play Run to the Hills.
Yeah, exactly.
The first 3 times I saw them, no Run to the Hills.
Imagine calling the tour Run for Your Lives and then not playing Run to the Hills.
God, that'd be upsetting.
That would be great.
Be so upsetting.
No, I think that's class. I think that'd be brilliant. Like, welcome to the Run for Your Lives tour. No, we're not playing it. But yeah, it's interesting to speculate what it might be. If it was up to me, okay, there's 2 songs that I don't think Maiden have played live. And if it's one of these 2, I will lose my mind at London Stadium. So one would be Only the Good Die Young.
Okay, that's a good song. Yeah.
Never been played live. The other one would be Judas Be My Guide from Fear of the Dark.
Okay.
Which I also don't think has ever been played live. If it's one of those 2, I'm going to be very happy. If it's Mother Russia, less happy.
Public Enema #1.
They have played that live. It's fine. They've played that live. Okay. So they may do it, but
they may do it.
God, that would be bizarre. But
it would be a weird call.
Hey, I'm up for Maiden playing any. Just for if they want to stick Public Enema #1, I'll go with it. But
I mean, to be honest, at this point, I've seen Maiden a bunch of times, and considering the specific time period that they're picking songs from, I'm pretty happy for them to mostly just pick anything other than stuff of No Prayer for the Dying.
But you would
like a couple of songs.
Come on, if they play Holy Smoke, you're going to go.
That's true. I do love Holy Smoke.
You will be. I mean, even I will be pretty happy with that, even if I don't care for it on record.
I'd be happy with that. I would love to hear, I guess. I mean, obviously they've played it live, but I would love to hear Be Quick or Be Dead.
Yes, but they haven't played it live since Bruce rejoined the band. Fun fact, Bruce used to play it in his solo sets.
Did he?
When Adrian was in, but after Adrian joined for the Chemical Wedding tour.
Yeah.
An Accident of Birth, they dropped that in the set. But I would love to hear Be Quick or Be Dead. And it feels like with Simon Dawson, I keep wanting to call him Simon Wright, but that's the AC/DC Dio drummer.
Yeah.
Who's Welsh, by the way.
Oh.
He's from Pontypridd, Simon Wright.
Good lad.
Yeah, played in AC/DC. What a legend. But, I sort of think that, they've and this is no slight on Nico, but you get the feeling Nico now might struggle with something like Be Quick or Be Dead.
Yeah.
But, it's all to play for now, right? Because Simon Dawson can do all that stuff. So
I know they've probably played it live. I know I've probably even seen it live, but I'd really love to see the Clairvoyant happen.
Yeah, that would be fun. They haven't done it for a little while.
I assume the Made in England.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Made in England.
Yeah.
And they did it on Summer Back in Time that I saw as well. But it was in the Made in England set. But it's been on the back burner for a bit. So that is definitely well overdue, a little return to live set. Basically,
I have no idea what any of the surprises could be on a set list.
it's
just give me Maiden. It's going to be great. I'm very excited.
It is going to be.
It's on my birthday. It's at London Stadium.
What a year 2025 is shaping up.
It's going to be a good time.
Maiden at London Stadium. We're going Trump back in the White House. What a time to be alive.
What a dichotomy of things, right?
America's going to be great again. Maiden are going to play deep cuts. It's all
Maiden
so
great again.
Potential nuclear war, but hey,
as long as we'll be going on the cart and horses, and then watching Iron Maiden,
and then if you want to push the red button, go for it. But not until I've seen Maiden.
Not until June the 29th.
Yes, that is the crucial date, please.
Yeah.
Just if everyone can not kill each other until then, and then do as you please.
Have at it.
Yeah. And sorry if you're planning on seeing Maiden after that date. Sucks to be you.
Yeah. I would have also seen Sabotage by then, so it's all good.
It is a good old year.
June is a very good month for gigs for your intrepid host, Sam.
Expensive.
Yes, I am going to be broke.
He's got to get earning, folks. He's got a lot of gigs coming up.
Yeah.
And a child to feed.
Yeah. I've made some poor decisions.
Don't worry, Sam. It's your child only has a lifetime to present you for them. There's plenty of time for that.
My child is going to be talking in therapy in 20 years about how I went to see Sabotage followed by Iron Maiden.
Literally, no one else in the country knew who they were other than him. Yeah. But he still went.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder how well attended that Sabotage show will be.
Well,
I'm excited.
Yeah. And I may or may not go see Man of War. Who knows?
Yeah. Who's going to be broke now?
Well, yeah, exactly. Here's a good thing for the X. do you think I should spend £105 plus a coach plus accommodation in London to go, well, on top of the ticket to go see Manowar?
We should put a poll.
Yeah, should Bledd spend, let's round up. It's going to cost me at least 300 quid, right? 350
Bloody
quid.
hell.
Well, by the time I've paid for my coach accommodation and everything else, it's going to be 300 quid, let's be honest.
For Manowar.
For Manowar. I really want to.
Yeah.
Because I love
Levin
Manowar.
has been talking about this to me
Yeah.
for literally 4 weeks. Every time I see him, this comes up as a discussion point. It's like it's this huge burden of a decision that he's wrestling with.
Because I feel like, on the one hand, I love Manowar, but also I feel like by doing it, it's kind of like an act of self-hatred, like spending that much money to see something that probably won't even be that great, but just really wanting to go see it. It's but hey, you know what will be great? Maiden.
That will be great.
I never regret spending money on Maiden, which is just as well because I spent a ton of money.
And your child will resent you for that.
Hey, she's going to have a priceless warehouse of artifacts that one day she'll be able to sell on for
Pennies. Literal pennies.
She'll be doing an Antiques Roadshow with that Iron Maiden lunchbox going, this is a
With your signed photo from the Iron Maiden fan club.
fan club circa
Like,
2005. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to wait 3 years to get after I joined, but
Nice.
I got it.
You don't get that in the fan club anymore.
No, I was there early doors, a mere 23 years after they released their debut album. Got in there early.
Yeah.
Right, news done?
I think that's everything.
This is how they've had the BBC News, right? They just go, okay, so...
Is that everything that happened?
Anyone else? No, is that it?
Any other business? Anyone?
Yeah, like Gaza, yeah, AI probably. Cool. Yeah, tick.
I mean, Maiden aside, I guess as we're wrapping up the episode, we can talk about what else we're listening to at the moment.
You go, because I'm reminding myself what else it is I listened to.
Well, this week I have been listening to a lot of the new album by The Halo Effect. What is it called? March of the Unheard, which is just a good, solid slab of melodic death metal. If you don't know the band, it's basically ex-members or current members of Dark Tranquillity and ex-members of In Flames, basically creating In Flames albums. Or at least what should have been In Flames albums.
But like In Flames albums, if they were...
Still good.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, new album's really excellent, really enjoyable. Very much more of the same as the first album, but that is A-okay by me.
That's great. Yeah, no, I got halfway through it. I didn't give up on it. No,
shut off the computer.
Because I was like, this is really good, but I need to... I had to go do something and I need to go back to it because I really enjoyed it.
This is so good, I have to stop.
A band who've been on my radar for quite some time, but I've never really got into towards the very end of last year.
Yeah.
And they released an album last year, which is the band Grand Magus.
Okay.
And their album Sunraven.
Strong name.
Which I played you in the car.
Oh.
And I think you described it as the most basic metal you'd ever heard.
I think I also mentioned it's kind of like algorithmically generated heavy metal.
But it
was just because there was a lot of cliches in the lyrics. It wasn't bad at all.
There's a hell of a lot of cliches, but I think for the kind of people who like Iron Maiden, if you want something that's pretty Maiden adjacent, a little bit doomier, if you sort of think like Dio era Black Sabbath, I think it's probably the closest.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like Heaven and Hell era Black Sabbath. But, if you want just like I mean, these song titles will tell you everything you need to know, right? So, Grand Magus, you have got classics such as Sunraven, Brother of the Storm, Triumphant Power, Spear Thrower,
of course,
Steel versus Steel.
That's the one. I remember seeing it come up on your car radio. It's like,
versus Steel.
That is the most generic thing.
Wolf God, Hammer of the North. I mean, these people just, they know their metal, right?
Yeah.
They're not messing with it. It's like an omelette. Like, I'm not going to go putting celery in my omelette. I just want eggs and cheese, right?
You can be more exciting than eggs and cheese without putting celery in it.
Yeah, so...
I made a great omelette last week. It had mushrooms, it had some leek in it, it had some cheese. It was a good time.
That is not Grand Magus' omelette, Sam. They are
my omelette.
Eggs, cheese.
Grandma just can't have it. That is my omelette.
Bit of pepper.
Back away.
That's it. That's your omelette, right? It's a classic. Don't mess with it. And sometimes I just want my classic metal omelette of Grand Magus. Yeah, it's very comforting when it's cold. For some reason,
I want mushrooms in my omelette. That's how I feel.
Yeah, mushrooms are nice, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right, on that note.
On that note, you can find us on Blue Sky at Iron Maiden Pod. You can find us on X at Maiden Pod.
You can give us money on Ko-fi.
In fact, on Blue Sky, you can find us at Maiden Pod, not Iron Maiden Pod.
Sorry.
Maiden Pod. Yeah, you can find us on Ko-fi if you want to contribute to our beer fund and the podcast hosting costs. We spend a lot of time doing this by ourselves at our own expense. Yeah. And as we've already discussed, our families are judging us deeply for many reasons.
As I was coming here, my parents-in-law around the house, and my father-in-law literally said to me, "Oh, you're going to do a Maiden podcast, are you?" And I don't think he meant to, but it was the most patronising. and I couldn't help but feel I kind of deserve that. You know what I mean? That's fair. I deserve that.
That is pretty damning.
Yeah, I deserve that.
When I've spoken about it with her, my lovely partner is very much like, it's really cool you do a podcast. I'm really impressed at like the sort of work ethic you guys have. But I've never listened to it. But I'm never going to listen to it. Well, she'll often go, loser, and then put an L above her forehead. So, swings and roundabouts.
Well, we've got...
But you guys are worse. You're listening to this. So,
so
who's laughing now? Please don't leave us.
Still not us, is it? No.
Yeah, no. We are losers.
Right, every like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Share it with any friends.
Only people like Iron Maiden.
Yeah, share it with any friends who enjoy Iron Maiden.
Don't
share it with anyone else.
What a waste of time that would be.
But yeah, we will start getting into the 21st Century albums. We're also going to try and do some new stuff this season. Hopefully talk to some other musicians.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, this is quite an exciting, I was about to say a new frontier, if you will. Not quite a final frontier, but a new frontier.
But it is a new frontier for us.
Isn't there a Maiden song called... There's a Maiden song
called New Frontier. Dance of Death, which is the next album we have to cover.
Oh, thank you. Okay, New Frontier, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be talking to some potentially musicians who like Iron Maiden.
Potentially talking to musicians. The musicians themselves aren't potential.
Well, yeah, sorry, yeah. The musicians do exist, yeah.
Are you a musician? Really?
Do you know anything about... Do you know who Iron Maiden are? But I was thinking maybe we could expand it to sort of maybe, I don't know, talk to academics who like Iron Maiden.
Look, if you're a person of any stature, however small it is, because we'll take anything, and you want to talk about Iron Maiden.
I know a renowned Welsh historian who likes Iron Maiden, so...
Get them on. That sounds great.
Maybe you can hook us up with some other... Don't know, you like a sort of senior judge who likes Iron Maiden.
If you have a white-collar profession of some note, and you enjoy Iron Maiden.
And you like Iron Maiden.
Paralegal who enjoys Iron Maiden.
On the pod, yeah.
All right.
Basically, there's so much to look forward to as this happens.
It's going to be a weird year, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye.